podcast. I'm your host, Frank Sullivan, and we have a very exciting episode for you today. We have my co host, Frank Darling. Frank, how are you?
Good, having a good day today. Yeah.
Awesome. And then we have a special guest, Tony. Tony, you want to be called Tony, right?
Yeah, Tony's great. Hello, hello,
Tony
hello.
from the Bruh Meets World podcast. How are you today?
Doing great. So excited to talk about this movie with y'all.
Nice to
I'm
have
looking
you.
forward to it. Do you want to give us? I guess you want to kind of give us a quick little intro, I guess, to your podcast and
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So,
fans know.
I am a co-host of a podcast called Bruh Meets World. We've been going since like 2017, reviewing all the Boy Meets World episodes, doing some kind of special episodes, interviewing casts and producers and writers and different things like that. I think we've just wrapped up the show, so we're kind of like plotting like what our next move is going to be now. But it's we got a lot of fun ideas.
I was going to ask you because I haven't seen you guys out for a little bit, so
Yeah. We're kind of developing some new stuff right now, so I'm excited. So and what a great time to hop on board here, pivot a little bit into horror movies, which is a huge love of mine.
it's definitely a pivot for us too because, like I said, we normally do sports movies, which again there's a huge array of movies, but now we pivot to we're doing five horror movies you call it, and then we're gonna go back to sports, then to Christmas movies.
Fun. Yeah, the last time I was here, I believe we did Angels in the Outfield, correct?
Yes,
Yes, we did.
Which
Yes,
is now
yes.
on Disney Plus.
Finally. It's because of this podcast. It's what we did. We brought awareness.
I hope so. I think it was I think they hit an anniversary. If I'm not
Oh, maybe
mistaken.
that's it. Yeah.
And maybe that's why because I think it came out in '94.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I mean, it's what 40 years? No, 30 years. I'm sorry.
30 years, yeah.
Wow.
And 2004 was when Dawn of the Dead came out, so we're in the 20-year anniversary of that.
Oh yeah, that's
wow.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is crazy, huh?
Yes.
But anyways, yeah. So I guess I'll fire a few questions at you. So to be a little stereotypical, what are your favorite scary movies?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot recently. The big ones that come to my mind are The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Halloween, but I also really love like have you guys seen The Strangers? The original The Strangers that came out in like 2008?
We actually just watched that last week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Loved that. I loved Insidious. So those are kind of the ones that come to mind.
Right. Right. Yeah, I want to see The Strangers. I never saw that.
It's an interesting movie too, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Did he freeze a little bit?
Yeah, he froze.
Yeah, he did. Go figure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to stop it?
Yeah.
In an earthquake? So sorry.
We're back on
it's
now.
okay. Good. It's All right. So your favorite? It's funny because we already did The Exorcist. No, I'm sorry. We did The Exorcist last year. We recorded
Yeah.
it and watched that one.
Yes.
We did Nightmare on Elm Street last week too, I believe. And then I think we're gonna do Halloween, like the last episode, I think. So
Oh, great.
we're doing all your
Some,
favorites. So
some bangers for sure.
yes. You and my wife would get along great because she's actually a big horror buff. She's seen them all.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
So she tries. This is her month, so to speak. So she forces me to watch all these type of movies. So
I try to reserve all of the horror movies I want to watch for October. I try to build up a queue because
Yeah.
I do the same thing with Christmas movies in December too. It's just that I grew up in the '90s when like you would turn on the TV during a certain type of year and all the shows would be themed, all the movies would be playing that were themed, and it just kind of created a vibe that I want to try to recreate.
Definitely.
yeah, Frank, what are your? Because I know you had Exorcist on some of your favorite.
Yeah, and I agree with him with Halloween. Poltergeist, another one of the scary ones. I'm talking about some movies you watch by yourself in your house and it's dark. It's scary. And Exorcist is one. That's a scary flick. Do you watch that now? If you watch that now, it's a lot different. It's a little corny, but it's still scary though. Yeah. But,
Oh, I think the performance is still great. Like Linda Blair going from this sweet, adorable girl to like Satan is like an amazing performance.
yeah, especially for back then too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of them, I only have a few here. So the Scream definitely.
Yes.
I like all three of the Scream movies. I've seen some of the later ones. They're like, so. What's it called Paranormal Activity, which is what we're doing next week.
Fun.
That still rocks me to my core. I like all three of them. Like they scared it. I had to watch something afterwards, else I'll have to
That's a great trilogy too. Like I like the way those movies interweave with each other.
Yes. And this one actually came up. You ever watched The Haunting of Hill House?
The movie? The series on Netflix. Love it. So good.
Yes. I don't know if you've seen it, Frank.
Now you told me about it. Eventually I'll watch it.
It's written so great. You fall in love with the characters, the kids, and then the adults too. You know.
It's just a great haunted house like themed concept. Like I feel like I haven't seen a lot of good haunted house movies or things like that in a long time.
Yeah. No. Very true. But yeah, that's you want to get into the movie?
Yeah, we'll start it off. You ready?
Yeah, you want to break it down?
The introduction to the movie, Dawn of the Dead. Release date, March 19th, 2004. Box office info. Budget was $26 million. Opening weekend, $27 million. And it grossed $102 million. Directed by Zack Snyder. Starring Sarah Polley as Anna, Ving Rhames as Kenneth, Mekhi Phifer. Jake Weber as... Yeah. Oh, what is it? Is it Mekhi?
Yeah.
Mekhi Phifer as Andre. Jake Weber as Michael. Ty Burrell as Steve. And Michael Kelly as CJ. Simple synopsis: a nurse, a policeman, a young married couple, salesman, and other survivors of a worldwide plague that is producing aggressive, flesh-eating zombies taking refuge in a mega Midwestern shopping mall. 17 nominations. It had 1 win. It's a 1 hour and 41-minute runtime. I watched it on Peacock.
Yep.
You too?
Peacock. Yep.
Peacock? Okay. And now we come to the best part of the show, Frank's 5 Fun Facts. What do you got?
All right. There was a lot of stuff on this too, so I tried to kind of pick and choose. So this first one's kind of a little bit of an ode to the first one. So the 2 zombies with missing limbs, it's the jogger missing an arm and the legless zombie in the parking garage, were both actually amputees. Same thing is done for the first zombies seen in the original Dawn of the Dead. Just a little bit of an ode to that, which I have not seen. I was trying to kind of cram it in before we watched it, before we recorded. But I didn't get a chance to. Have you guys seen the original?
I have. It's been a long time. The original, I think, is much more of like a social commentary on like consumerism, whereas like this one, you can really kind of feel that like war on terror kind of influence within like the construction of the film. So politically, it's a little different, but structurally very similar.
Is it?
Yes.
I did watch
Night
of the Living Dead, which I haven't seen that before.
The original one?
Yes, the original one.
Yeah, that's scary.
Black and white.
I saw that in a drive-in theater. Yeah.
It was definitely interesting. Because I think it came out
like 67?
In,
something like that?
It was like
Something like that.
Yeah,
it's in the 60s, yeah.
So that was interesting, so to speak. Fact number 2, so director Zack Snyder personally chose most of the music used in the film. His choices included The Man Comes Around by Johnny Cash and Richard Cheese's cover of Disturbed's Down of the Sickness. I guess Snyder was the only person who thought those 2 songs should be in the film, where most of the producers were against it. So I think those.
I really enjoyed the music used in the film, specifically like the Johnny Cash pick. It's almost like the juxtaposition of something that's not very frightening with images that are very frightening. That makes it very memorable, I think.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
I tried to look up like how much like a Johnny Cash song
Oh yeah.
would cost, and it said $1 million. I don't know if that's true or not. I know some of the sometimes the songs they have them in there can really skyrocket, but I just thought it was interesting.
This movie did feel like it had a pretty big budget. Like I feel like this was Zack Snyder's first film, and it seemed like he was able to do a lot with the budget he was given.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
definitely.
said it. Yeah, Frank said it too, and I had no idea that he like directed. I watched this a while ago. I haven't seen this movie in a while. And I was like, oh, what's it called directed this? Because I know he Justice League and all the other
Yeah, he
ones.
did Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, Aquaman.
What's funny
a lot,
also is that this movie is written by James Gunn, who is
Gunn,
now in control of
right?
DC. So Zack
Gunn.
Snyder and James Gunn worked their way into DC's history somehow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah. Fact number 3: a lot of the actors playing zombies were carrying remotes in their hands to discharge a blood cannon placed on their back. This would activate an explosion of blood behind them to stimulate a gunshot wound to the head or whatever the case may be.
That's pretty good.
And a side note, it says some of the camera crew would be wearing plastic sheeting during some of the scenes, some of the gorier scenes, due to all the
So cool.
flying. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool, though, man.
Yeah. Are you into all
You
the
know
gore
what?
stuff? I would assume.
Gore's not necessarily the thing that pulls me into a film, but when monster movies are able to do it really well. Like I love The Thing from the 1980s. I don't know if you've seen that one, where it's just like a lot of like a creature makeup, prosthetics, and robotics, like actual stuff versus the CGI stuff. I'm really impressed with that. So like I thought I was really impressed with it. Not necessarily like into the gore, but when they can pull it off, I'm like, wow, that was from a film perspective, like very cool to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
we just watched that movie. I seen it for the first time a week ago, and yeah,
Yeah.
for that, especially for that time, and like I said, the effects were pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yes,
good.
very well done.
I think they hold up too.
Oh, I agree, 100%. Yeah. Let's see. Fact number 4: Zack Snyder said that the reason his zombies run at full speed is because he wanted to avoid, I guess, the impression by instead of the slow zombies. He said, I guess, because they used that in 28 Days
Yeah.
Later in 2002. So I guess he kind of wanted to make it a little bit different. And even in Night of the Living Dead, they're slow. I
Yeah,
don't know. Are they
they
slow
are.
in the remake of Dawn of the Dead?
The original Dawn of the Dead, yeah. I mean, they're slow zombies were
Yeah.
kind of the like main form of zombies up until the 2000s. That's when you kind of had that switch, and I think up until Walking Dead does slow zombies,
Right.
but for a long period of time there was a lot of fast zombies in film.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. Let's see here, and my last fact, it says by the end of production, 3,000 zombie makeup effects were created. I guess it said the zombie extras were paid
Not
$8
bad.
an hour,
Oh, yeah, that's cool, man. I'd love to be one.
and I guess they had as many of 50 makeup artists working on transforming them into zombies. And
Does it say how?
Just another great
I'm sorry.
example.
Did you mention this, or I'm sorry if I missed it? The amount of extras that they had for the zombies. Because there were a few scenes in the film where I'm like, wow, it looks like an endless sea of zombies, and I wonder how much of that was just CGI or whatever.
it doesn't say how much. It just says 3,000
Wow,
zombie
okay.
makeup effects. So I don't know. It's interesting. It
Yeah.
did say it said most of the zombie makeup was modeled after real
Oh,
inclusive
interesting.
forensic photos. So yeah,
Yeah, well,
It was a lot.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
All right, so those are my 5 fun facts.
Those are good. Very good.
How do we want to break the movie down? Get into the. We talked about the director, okay,
Right,
and
right.
you want to talk about the cast, who we liked, who we didn't
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That sounds good. Well, of course, Ving Rhames played the part. Played an excellent part.
Perfect.
he really wanted to do this. This was it was very important to him. He was glad that he was asked to do it because he wanted to always be in one of these kind of movies. I thought he did a nice job. He's been in all kinds of stuff. Been a good actor. Good actor. Really is.
I thought he, yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah, he does a great job, but I feel like this film allowed me to see like a different side of Ving Rhames than you would see in like the Mission Impossibles or some of his other work. Like, he was able to be like stern and like a force of like strength, but also his relationship that he forms with the guy at the ammo store. Like, there's depths to his character that I was able to appreciate.
You're
But
right.
and two, I think he had that cop. He still had that cop mode in him too. So like he had that thing of like what's right and what's wrong, and then I think his relationship with his brother.
Sure.
You know, as he saw Andy over there as like someone needed help, I think he definitely he made that distinguish like, okay, hey, maybe that's that's not
yeah,
my
I
brother,
think there was a
someone
feeling that
needed.
he had once he realized that he couldn't go save his brother. Where at least maybe I can save Andy. Maybe can kind of fill that void of trying to save his brother.
Very good. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, Sarah Polley
Yep.
plays Anna. She has done some stuff. A lot of bit parts here and there that I know of. That's about it I know about her. I don't know too much about her.
Yeah, I'm
Played
looking her up.
Played a big part in the movie. I mean, so
She's the main, pretty much one of the main stars.
yeah. And
Mekhi Phifer, yeah.
Pfeiffer, you said? Mekhi Phifer.
Yeah, Mekhi Pfeiffer's
He's
been in a
done
ton of
lot.
stuff.
He had
8 Mile, yeah.
8 Mile too.
8 Mile.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He's a good actor. I've seen him in other parts too, bit parts. But I mean, yeah, he's good. He's good. He's a good actor.
Has he done much lately now? I don't know if I've seen him in.
He was in Chicago PD, that like television show.
Oh yeah. watched
So
it.
I think he does some television now, but for a while, like in the '90s, I feel like he was in a bunch of different things. Like you said, 8 Mile, he was in. He was also in like this like Shakespearean film called O, which is like Othello, like a modern telling of it. They did a bunch of modern tellings of Shakespeare films, like 10 Things I Hate About You and Romeo and Juliet that came out in the '90s. That was one of them. So he was, he was a very eclectic actor, you could say.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Really is. Yeah. And then Jake Weber as Michael. He was in Joe Black, U571. He was in the series Medium. He was in that for a while. A lot of episodes he was in that. So
He's pretty good too, and honestly, like I've seen some of his other movies, but I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup if he had him in front of me. He plays that, like, you know what I mean?
yeah, these are all secondary actors.
Well,
These
that's
aren't leading actors.
That's how I felt about Anna as well, Sarah Polley. I was just like, her and Michael, I don't recognize them from anything, and they wouldn't stand out in any other film to me. But in this film, they're essentially like the heroic leads of, and I think they pull it off really well. So
I think you're right. I agree totally with you.
Yeah.
And Ty Burrell, as we were talking, me and Frankie, he's from Modern Family, and he was also
so interesting seeing Phil Dunphy in this movie.
It's funny. I honestly didn't see any Modern Family until I want to say like a year ago, and we binge watched the whole series and stuff, and it's so funny. I was like, holy crap, that's what's his face.
That's him.
But he's hysterical. His character stands out so much in this, and he's only in like
he's still he's a douche, but he's still a funny douche. Like he still has like those comedic timings really well done.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's Michael Kelly as CJ. He was in Man of Steel, Now You See Me, House of Cards, Jack Ryan. He's been in everything. He doesn't look nothing like he did, but he's in all kinds of stuff. I see him all the time. I said, oh, it's CJ. It's CJ.
He's an incredible actor, and I've seen him in a ton of things as well. But yeah, I mean, what was the movie you just mentioned? Oh no, House of Cards. His work in House of Cards, I think, is some of his best work. Like really strong, dramatic acting there.
Yep. Yes. Definitely. Yes.
It's funny because I didn't recognize him at all. But honestly, for me, he's almost the MVP of the movie because, I mean, he go from you hate him in the beginning.
Yeah.
He's got him like under he got him. He's like, you can't come out. And then again, he ends up helping him with the bus. Ends up
Yeah.
pretty much sacrificing himself at the
He has
end.
the biggest
Yeah.
arc of all the
Definitely.
characters, I would say.
Yes.
You're right. That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yep. Well, who else do we got? Kevin Zingers.
Yeah, I didn't put them all down. I mean, there's so many people in this.
That's
movie.
the
I mean,
only
other
well,
people.
I'll note too because we actually just watched
Okay.
Wrong Turn, which
Oh,
I don't know if
right,
you've seen that
right.
movie because Kevin Zingers from the kid from Air Bud, which we did that movie a while ago,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
the redhead Nicole Booth, his kind of
Yeah.
like somewhat love interest for 5 minutes. They're both
5
in the
minutes,
same. They're
Oh,
both
interesting.
in that same movie, Wrong Turn, and they're
Oh.
actually and their
Wow.
love interest together. So I just thought it was real funny how they're in that movie together. Pretty much, I wonder if the director of Wrong Turn saw that and maybe liked their. I don't know.
It's just good
I
chemistry.
just thought it was funny.
Might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not forget the dog.
When Nicole
Oh,
tries to go after that dog, I'm like, just let her go. Like we've already proven the zombies are not interested in the dog. Who are you running to save?
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
We'll talk more about that scene later. But
I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I
There's
know.
a lot of there's a lot of aggravating things about her.
Oh man.
But we'll start it kind of like, in the beginning where I wrote it down. So 5 minutes into this movie is the first kill, and I was like, that's what I love about the movie. It starts out quick and it goes.
I was doing a lot of reading about this movie, and like I said, there's a lot of like post 9/11 influences in this movie, and the idea of like when you woke up on 9/11, the whole world had changed. Like, and if you had slept in, you may have missed it, and how like those ideas kind of infiltrated into like this idea of waking up one morning and just an apocalypse is happening, and how are you dealing with it? Like, there was a lot of influence in that into the film.
Didn't even
Yeah.
think of that. But
Good
you're
point,
right. I
you're
mean,
right.
it came
Yeah.
out 04, so they probably, did most of this a year or two before.
One of the things you were mentioning about the beginning of the film that I loved when we kind of get the wide shot of her coming home from the hospital and you see her going through the suburb, because what I thought of is that like, wow, the suburb seems like a safe place, but in the sense of like you're running in the zombie apocalypse, it could be a maze, and it almost shows the car kind of going in as like this giant maze, this labyrinth of homes that she has to get through. So
Yeah. Makes sense. You're right. That's a
You're,
good
you're
point.
right. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, the aerial shot when it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
because
cool.
you don't. That's one of the things you don't realize, especially after doing this, is
sure.
everything is done for a reason, and how the little camera movements and they tell the story too. Again, it's aerial shot. I'm like, why the heck
Sure,
did they even
yeah.
do that? But it's for a reason.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You know what my wife noticed? That was a good point. She says, well, they're in the shower. They're never going to hear
Yep.
that announcement. That's a good point.
Yeah.
They did that. Yeah, they did that in the movie. Made it
I kept thinking how,
Yeah,
like, in the
what's going on?
pre-cell phone world, how likely something like this could be. Because when you're not getting those notifications letting you know that something's on, if you're not watching TV, you missed it. Yeah.
Now we have the phone right here, and we just get it update. I'm like, not for nothing, but she just got off of what? How long was her
Yeah.
shift? 12 hours or something? She ain't having sex. She's
Yeah.
going to sleep.
Going to sleep.
Hey, one other thing, just while we're talking about the beginning of the movie, I couldn't help but notice, as soon as the film started, the, like, over color correction, which I feel like is something that happened with a lot of movies at this time. You go back and watch like The Matrix, or you go back and watch just this really like high green color to the color saturation. Like it feels very distinct of that time period.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Yes.
you see a lot.
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
Kind of grainy too. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see how with technology and
Yeah.
when things are filmed on actual
Sure.
film and not digital.
Yeah. You could see how this could happen, though, definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it would be out of control.
I don't know. I say it almost did happen, but
I know. We're not ready for that. Well, don't forget, we had the guy in Florida here that they caught eating somebody's body or something, flesh eater or something like that. That was
Really?
about
Florida be like that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy. So it does happen.
Hey, the one I really love this movie. I just want to throw this out there. I remember watching this when it first came out. I had a great time with it. There was a few critiques I had when I started rewatching it this time, and one is when Lewis, Anna's husband, when he turns to a zombie the first time. I think it takes like less than a minute, whereas throughout the film it felt like there were like different time periods of how long it took for someone to switch. So I was just like, there's a little inconsistency there.
Yeah,
I think the little girl got his.
Ooh, so it's like how
vein
deep the bite
real
goes that
fast.
determines. That's interesting.
I think that's what ultimately does it. Again, I could be wrong, but also at the same point, there's a little, because while we're on that little bit of the scene with the first, it's kind of an underrated scene because it stood out to me this time when she's by herself and she breaks down and cries because when you think about her, I mean, because I don't know, were they married?
I think
don't
they
know
were,
if it
yeah.
said it or anything like that. They had a house together. She just lost her husband. A lot has happened in I don't know how long
Sure.
ago period, 3 hours, and she finally gets a moment to sit with it, and then, but again, it's that chaos where you can't dwell on it for too long because there's so much more going on, and especially with her being a nurse and she had to help people
definitely.
out. You know?
Yeah, it just kind of
Really
shows how
underrated
she's
scene.
instantly thrusted into like the survivor mode where she doesn't really have time to process what's going on because, I mean, people are chasing you. You don't really have a lot of time to think. Yeah.
You don't. Get in that car and go. Yeah. They're very strong, these zombies, too, in this. Very strong. See them break the window, smashing the window. I mean, they're very strong. They make them. Zack Snyder.
Which I
was very
think
strong.
helped the fear of this
I like
movie.
that.
Like, I feel like one like critique that a lot of people have was that like zombies previously were very slow and they weren't very scary. You could very easily outrun them. But this idea of making them chase you, because even when you think about like Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers or Jason, they would walk and they would somehow catch up. Like there was never anything actually chasing you. But the adrenaline of being chased, like I feel like Zack Snyder worked that into the film so well.
Yes, he did.
Well, you
He
see
definitely-
her husband hauling, just started hauling ass
Yeah.
after that car when she takes
So well
out.
done.
And I was like, holy shit, man, you gotta, he just went off. This is wild.
Yeah.
Did you catch the Wilhelm scream?
Ooh, no,
too?
I missed that.
It's like, Frank, you know what I'm talking about? The Wilhelm, the scream. If you look that up, you'll hear it right away. If you actually Google it, it's called the Wilhelm scream. It's like, I don't know how to say. It's just like a voice recording that they'll play. It's right in the beginning. Isn't that one of the when she's like, I think she's in the car taking off. You kind of hear it in the background, and I just thought it was interesting how they kind of threw that in there.
Oh, I'll have to go back and check it out.
I
Yeah.
just thought it was
Yeah,
interesting.
to check that out.
Yeah.
Well,
What else?
she gets in the car. It crashes. This is where she runs into Sergeant Kenneth, played by Ving Rhames. And then they meet up shortly after with the other survivors, Michael, Andre, and his pregnant wife, Luda.
Yeah.
Luda.
Right.
I did not think she was Russian. I thought for some reason she
Yeah.
was more Puerto Rican than me. But then I don't know. I guess just going back,
I didn't even hear much of a Russian accent. I thought she was. It was very just like
no.
ambiguous as to where she came from.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I know. I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, they meet up, and then they said they go to the mall. Which again, malls in America. I don't know how it is out there, but in California. But the malls around here, it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say
ghost town, but
malls
they're-
as a concept are kind of
to
the
it.
zombies now. Like I feel like I see so many more of these like outdoor shopping areas than I do see malls being constructed and built. But like,
Yep. Yeah, malls are.
and it's hard to even describe to young people how important malls were. Like I don't even think that, like especially when the original came out in the 80s, like malls were the biggest thing in the world. Like, they were brand new. Everyone wanted to hang out at the mall. It was the official like third place of America in a lot of ways, and in a way that like I feel like
Yeah.
Gen Zer probably wouldn't understand.
Yeah, I agree totally with you. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think with like Walmart and
Yeah.
now Amazon coming and just getting hot, I think it's just totally just
Yeah. Yep.
I go to a mall. I mean, Frank, you live in Florida, which you're kind of more in like a touristy area.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like you have a lot of those outdoors.
Yes. Right. Right.
So those are
They're-
pretty. I would imagine pretty busy. No.
Yeah, they are. There are some malls though. The closest mall to us is about 30 miles away. There's about three or four of them. They're really nice. But you gotta remember too, a lot of people still go there because there's a lot of tourist sections and
Exactly.
a lot of people live in apartments. Now, apartments are a big thing down here, so they're usually busy
Yep.
the malls. Yeah, so they're still in business, I should say. Yeah.
Because up here, I mean, like some of the like the, I should say some of the malls that are closer to like New York, and Frank will know, like Danbury Mall, which is like
Right.
right next to New York.
Right.
Some of like the higher end, like malls, those are kind of somewhat busy, especially around the holidays. You get a lot of people, but we have some like another two malls where it's just there's. I don't know how they even stay. I don't know how those big box
No.
chains
Yeah.
are still
It's
alive.
not like it used to be. It's changed a
Yeah.
lot. It really has.
Well, you know what's interesting is that in the original Dawn of the Dead, they almost explain like the zombies gravitating towards the mall because that's what everyone did while they were living. So it's kind of like an instinct to go there. And whereas this movie just kind of painted it as a sanctuary that had everything they needed to shield themselves from the outside world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a great idea myself, being in the mall. So you got everything that you need.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's I don't want to go too far ahead, but like they decided to leave.
Where are you going
Like,
to go? Yeah.
Why leave?
I know.
That's what I mean. And you have, I think for the most part, there's a million. There's I don't know how many stores, 20, 30 stores in there.
Oh yeah.
You got food. You got
Oh, yeah.
you got whatever you need. I mean,
Yeah.
go stay there till you run out of stuff.
I know.
Yeah,
I agree
because
totally.
I mean, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Right?
So like I said, they get to the mall. They go in there. They meet the two security. Well, they meet the two security guards. Which now is an interesting note. When Luda gets bit, I like as they're running away. I just noticed her when they start running away. She rolls down her sleeve to try to hide it, which I never noticed that in the beginning because like you don't really know if she got bit or not because it doesn't really.
And
look
also, it's not until like pretty far into the movie that the group realizes. I think Anna's the one that's like, "Hey, I think the bites are what's causing it." So they don't even really know when they first get to the mall that the
Yeah.
bites are what's spreading the infection.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah, so this is where we get introduced to like CJ and like the other security officers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. 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 They were.
Which again,
yeah.
they have guns. Not
Yeah.
happening.
What do you mean?
I don't know about down there.
I was
but
trying to
Molotovs
think
don't have
like
guns.
maybe they weren't just carrying guns because they were part of the security, but because they were in the mall and they were able to get to like a sporting goods store. But I was like, do malls sell guns? Like, can you just go into an REI and like buy rifles? Or I don't know. Like maybe it's different. I don't know.
I don't know. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, like the Milford Mall has got like,
Okay, so
sporting
yeah.
goods, and they have rifles
And shotguns. I don't think they have pistols anymore.
and rifles and shotguns.
Right.
But where does it say what
This is
state
Milwaukee.
takes place in?
Milwaukee. Yep.
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
So
yep.
you never know. They could have. I mean, again, laws are different out there. I'm sure you can go into a Walmart and buy a pistol
Yeah, that was-
in
Yeah.
another.
And that was 20
you know,
years
I don't-
ago. Laws have changed.
A
Yeah.
southern state or one of those other states that got those gun laws a little
Right.
loose.
Right. Definitely.
Um,
Definitely there.
that's a good note. I just figured because it seems
Sure,
like they
yeah,
have
yeah.
holsters for the guns, and I'm like I've seen Mall Cop. And
Yeah.
the whole main joke with him in
Sure,
Mall
sure.
Cop is that he doesn't have a gun. He's like, make sure you think that you want him to think you're loaded. You got a gun, but
And not for nothing, she had the shotgun, which they're standing right there. She could have took all three of them out in one shot. and he had a pistol. So they acted like they had more guns. They had no
Very
guns.
true.
So it was kind
Yep.
of weird myself watching that scene. But yeah,
And he still was like, he's like, I'm gonna lock you guys up so you guys you don't steal shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell does he care?
Yeah, like there was parts where of
Damn.
CJ's character that I didn't understand him, and I wonder, it was like, did they like cut dialogue? Because if you were like, hey, I'm concerned about us running low on supplies, I'm concerned about bringing in a lot of people, like they never gave him an opportunity to kind of like explain why he was so aggressive towards these people, which I think would have maybe helped. But you know,
Right.
obviously he becomes more sympathetic as the movie goes on. But in those initial moments, I was like, man, this dude's bugging for no reason.
yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Yeah.
Who do you think was actually the real leader? Was it CJ or was it I'm sorry, was it Kenneth or
I think Michael was the brains of it. I think Michael knew exactly how to speak to CJ. He understood exactly what type of person he was dealing with. He was like, hey, I know you're really smart. I know you have an idea to put a sign on the roof, right? Like to make sure people know where we are, and just kind of, yeah, and to kind of play with his
knew right
ego
away,
so that
yeah.
CJ wouldn't shut him down, but like accept his ideas thinking that they're his own.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, definitely.
But I think you could argue that maybe Kenneth, like Ving Rhames' character, is kind of a. I mean, he lives longer than Michael. He's the, you know what I mean? Like traditionally, a cop is the person who's kind of the lead in these type of movies. So I think you could argue that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took a little step back though, like Frankie said in that movie. You said it too. He took a little step back.
was like
kinda
his,
just watching
Supporting
everything.
role like
Yeah,
Daryl-
very-
Daryl
yeah,
Dixon in The Walking
Daryl
Dead,
Dixon, like.
you know?
Yeah,
There-
he's playing chess
Yeah.
out there with Andy. So I thought that was.
I mean,
cool.
definitely an alpha, but not quite like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That made.
I think
that made
once he
it
learned that his brother died, like that there was no point in saving him, he kind of lost his gusto. He kind of lost his motivation for a while.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, something else I noticed, and again, like it's kind of hard. Like the second act of this movie is kind of hard to talk about because it all kind of feels like a giant montage. Like it feels like it all kind of runs together of just these like little like you know, playing on the roof or you know, shooting celebrities and hanging out. Like it all
Yeah,
kind of
they
feels like
kinda
one
hang
like
out.
40-minute hangout sequence in a way that's kind of hard to pick apart.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned the budget, and it's like they really, I mean, there's a lot of extras, but other than the main bit, you know, it's just the eight of the main characters. Which again, at that time, I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
I mean, Ving Rhames is probably getting. I
You're
don't know,
right. Like
most of the money,
there's
I
like
would
what
assume.
a giant action sequence in the beginning, and like you could argue like 2 to 3 action sequences towards the end. But a majority of the movie is just like a bunch of low budget actors hanging out in an empty mall.
Mall.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
That's what I mean. It's like, but they rent out the mall for, I don't know, 3-4 months or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
or even shoot it at certain times.
They said they
and it's
found a
like,
defunct
really
mall,
great
and
place to
actually
go.
the scene that takes place in the beginning where Anna gets home from work is actually a bedroom that they built out of the back of the mall because they just had that set already. So they were using that set for multiple things.
There you go.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah. Oh, this is
That's-
interesting
that's-
too. I was reading. They
yeah.
shot the blackout scene. Remember the lights go out? It was
Yeah.
an actual
Ooh,
blackout.
fun.
Was
It
it?
was. It was an actual blackout in that wall. Yeah.
They just
So they just
kept
went with
in,
it.
huh?
Yeah, they went with it. And they had
What's
generators.
the,
so-
the other scene when they're in the elevator was improv when they're going down.
Oh, CJ's like, "Oh, I love this
what's the
song."
guy that says it?
I love this song.
Yeah, that was kept in too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny though because again it's super like quiet and then
It's a great
just
release
like
from
that.
tension. Like I feel like Zack Snyder, even with some of his more recent works, like he always throws like a little humor into his films to kind of release the tension a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember we were talking about where this was?
Yeah.
Well, that was,
Hmm.
but that's not where it was filmed. The mall scenes
was
of the
it?
film, as well as the rooftop scenes, were shot in Thornhill Square Shopping Center in Thornhill,
Oh.
Ontario.
That's Canada for you.
Yep,
It's cheaper.
and the
It's
rest
cheaper to
of it
film out
was
in
shot.
Canada.
Well, it's cheaper there. That's why. And a township of Caledon, East Ontario. But you're right about what
That
you said about the
that
bed.
actually explains a lot because like when
yeah.
they would do like them running away like driving towards the end, I was like, what city is this in the background? I had a hard time like placing like the building
Yes.
landscape.
Placing it.
Yeah.
Hey, something
Yeah.
else I noticed, kind of midway through the movie, they're watching TV and Ving Rhames is talking to Mekhi Phifer, and they start getting into like this almost like religious imagery of like, oh yeah, like when hell is
bathroom,
full, the
right?
dead come walking, and like them having that conversation like, is this the end of the world? Which I just thought was always like I feel like zombie apocalypse films kind of play on our fear of the end of the world in a lot of ways. So it's interesting to kind of see that, come up in a lot of different zombie pieces.
Oh, definitely. I like that. And then how about
Did
the
you
other?
notice-
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, did you notice who the guy was that was talking? And he was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you've seen Keenan and Kel.
Oh, okay. I have
That's
to go back and rewatch
father
that,
from-
see if I can catch that.
Yeah, he says there's no more room. When there's no
Yeah.
more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
Correct.
Which, great
Oh,
line.
he's from Keenan and Kel? Really?
Yeah, he plays his father. I'm sure he's done other things, but that's what I've always
Yep.
I've always
Oh,
known
wow.
that was
Wow.
him. But what were you gonna say, Frank? Go
How about
ahead.
when the other, because we're getting into it, how about the other truck comes with the people?
Yeah.
Remember? The heavy set lady, not for nothing, guys. The heavy set lady, they bring her in. Guys, she doesn't look too good. She's going to be a zombie.
No.
That was a little weird myself. She didn't look, I thought it was a creature that ran in. I didn't even know it was a woman. That lady, a big
Yeah,
face,
the
all
veins. She looked
veins.
clear. She looked half zombie when she came in.
I know. She did.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little weird, man. But they all died,
Yeah.
right? Eventually, all them? No. The girl was with them, wasn't she?
Yeah, the girls. Most of them, I think, end up
You're
dying.
right. The old
but,
guy
yeah.
died, and
But yeah, and again, it's like we got. He's like, oh, which call's here to put a bullet in your head or something.
oh
And
yeah,
she's like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Which again, I think is a little out of character for him because he seems like the nice one, and this seems like something
Yeah.
like I don't know, CJ would
Yes,
come
right,
up with like, hey,
definitely.
he's gonna turn. Let's just kill him.
Well,
now
yeah,
and get
that's
it
and
over
that's
with.
one thing that happens like right before the survivors show up is that they take control of the mall from CJ because of the survivors. Like they have this little tuffle on the roof where they throw CJ into like a little makeshift prison or whatever, and then Anna and Michael are essentially the ones making the decisions from that point. So
Balls.
You're right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I like when they made the trucks. I thought that was cool. They converted those, whatever you want to call those things.
Oh, the mall vans,
Yeah.
which I guess
Yeah, sure.
malls have shuttles.
Yes.
I do feel like
those
the
were
movie
awesome.
picks up from that
Awesome.
point, from them like just hanging out in the mall to the decision of, okay, what's next? How do we get out? Going from like, we need to do these trucks, we
Right.
need more ammo, and we need to get out. And seeing all of that play out, I feel like the movie really picks up a lot.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree. That's true. It does.
We don't really know how long they're there for. Did anyone look that up? Maybe because it seems like they're there for what? Because Andy runs out of food. So I mean,
Yeah, it could be
They're there for
days
what?
or weeks. Like, there's no way to really tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
because it seems like they could have did
100%.
more with locking that place down. Because
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
for the most part, they left all the like the entrance windows just there.
Well, also the one thing that no one
Yeah.
seems to like really pay attention to is that these zombies are drawn to sound. So if they're just quiet, won't even approach. They won't really have a reason to approach the mall. Really, like most of the zombies came towards the mall when the van came with the other survivors and brought those in when they were making all the noise. So
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting too. Yeah, I would have put stuff up against those. The big, like the big shopping racks.
Yeah, you could easily.
put
I
a
mean, I'm
barrier
sure
or
there was a
something,
ton
I
of
mean.
stuff they could have barricaded.
Yeah.
Even too, some of the entrances they have the metal.
sure, yeah.
What do you call it? Like the metal gates or something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah.
So the one sequence that happens around this part too is where Luda goes into labor.
Oh,
Zombie baby, like such. I knew it in the theater where I was watching it for the first time. I was like, I want to see a zombie baby, and they didn't disappoint me.
oh my God, that was wild. I knew that was coming. I don't know if you
I-
guys
yeah.
ever saw this movie. It's a very scary movie. It's like a top 10.
Oh yeah.
Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, that's if you never saw it,
No,
Frank,
I've
you
seen
should
it.
watch it. It is
Is
a
it?
very simple 60s. Yeah, it was 60s, late 60s, early 70s.
Oh,
That's some weird flick. Yes.
Really?
Yes. It's
there's a lot
very
of
interesting
horror
movie.
movies
Very
out there.
interesting.
Yeah,
That scared me
so
when I.
There's
watched
also
it.
a movie from 1974 called It's Alive, where it's literally a baby that just goes around attacking people,
Oh.
and it's very funny in a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, I know what you're talking
The
about.
horror movies don't need
Yeah.
an explanation. It's just they are what they are.
God.
You have Chucky running around, that's that labor scene, man. That's wild. Seeing the little baby, the little.
He's got it all.
But you know what I even
Awesome
like about
film.
that is that even when you see Luda, who's obviously a zombie at this point, and Mekhi Phifer is still kind of like holding on to this idea because of his scene with Ving Rhames earlier, where he's like, "I just want to be a good dad." It kind of you're able to like understand his emotions, his motivations a little bit, even when he's
Yeah.
clearly making horrible choices.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You're right. Yeah.
It's funny because he's talking to Ving Rhames in the bathroom and he's like, "Hey, why don't you go into the stall and say 5 Hail Marys?" And I forget what else he says, but he says
Yeah.
something funny. And I just thought it was hysterical how he's just talking to him like that. But you're right. I think he wanted to bring that child into the world and give his again kid
Yeah.
his child a better life. But again, what kind of life?
Yeah, I know.
Babies don't make it in the
Apocalypse.
I feel like this whole idea of
No,
giving
they
birth
don't.
to, I've seen this in Walking Dead, this idea of just like, do you even want to bring a baby into this world being a really common theme of these movies? Yeah.
Oh.
I agree totally with you. I don't know why.
I just
Great
watched,
other movie,
A
the
Quiet
same
Place.
idea.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't see any of them, and we watched all 3, and it was crazy how again, like Quiet Place, how they got him the baby in this like box and a little oxygen mask on it so he can cry. That's wild, man. I can't even
Yes.
imagine that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I saw it. You're very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Different kind of movie. Yeah.
different, especially for
Yeah.
what you call it, John Krasinski, who's a
Yeah.
comedian kind of, but let's
Love
talk about
the
this whole
rescue
scene
mission
with
of Andy. So
and
good.
What's the?
It was. It was good.
I don't know, man. I just it feels like they could have went.
When they lowered
I
the
like
dog
the
by the
dog.
rope, initially I was like,
I
do you guys
understand.
want to test this theory first before you just throw him to the wolves?
I know.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Because they could have easily just grabbed him and bit him and stuff. But I don't know. You see, she takes the van and just drives it right up there, no problem. I'm like, y'all could have easily just again, the noise over there.
Yeah, because it's
There you
this whole thing
go.
starts with Ving Rhames being like, "Yo, Andy, this thing's gonna take place in 5 days," which makes me wonder, like, why 5 days? What are you waiting for? It seems like the vans are good to go, the buses are good to go. Why this wait? And then Andy's like, "I'm hungry," and that's where they're like, "Okay, we got to get Andy some food during this time instead of let's just leave now with Andy."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that whole scene, it just bothered me. And then even too is like, they're on the radio and he's talking to Andy. He's like, "Yeah, one got me real good." And then she ends up with the radio somehow, and she like, "Okay, why didn't you?"
Why
tell her
couldn't
that
she
he was-
hear
he was-
Andy say it on the same walkie-talkie frequency?
I know. I didn't understand that part.
I don't know.
Once he got bit, he was.
Yeah,
all
it's a
right.
movie. But you know what my favorite
it's a
part of this
movie,
whole thing
right?
is? Because so the dog Chips and Nicole, they both get into the armor store through this little like doggy door, delivery door thing. And so when they're like, "Hey, we have to rescue them,"
Yeah.
they go through the tunnels, get over there, and it was so funny to watch Ving Rhames' thick ass try to like shove into that dog door. It was
Yeah.
He was so big. I was like,
He's,
there's no way he
he's a
could
big
fit.
boy.
Like,
He-
the girl barely fit through this thing. How it's so funny.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Now that you say it, it's like okay, they have
For
like
what?
a doggy door to a gun shop.
Yes. I know.
Oh
I
man.
know. I agree. The zombies
That's
were
funny.
pretty smart in this, though. They were pretty smart, the zombies
What?
in this. I thought they were. Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
They.
they caught on a lot.
Yeah.
They weren't dumb zombies.
No,
that's
they
for
were
sure.
not. No.
Well, you see, one of the guy he takes the brick, and he like starts smashing. Is that this? I'm trying to think if that's the scene or something. Maybe I'm thinking of another movie.
Mm.
Did he take a brick? Maybe I'm thinking of the original.
But he sees that door open, the doggy door. He just.
And they move so
yeah.
quick. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing about this
Yeah.
is that it almost makes these zombies. It's
Oh.
like when that door is open, it's like a hole at the bottom of a boat that's filling with water. They just like do not stop. They're so aggressive, and I think that's the thing that kind of promotes like why these
Yeah.
zombies are so memorable and scary is because they're so motivated.
Brick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. It's not like again because I know we talked about The Walking Dead. It seems to be a big thing with Walking Dead. I mean, they walk around. The zombies are slow. You can move from point A to point B and be okay.
Right.
This,
Yeah.
they're fast. They're coming.
They're catching
coming
you.
hard. Yeah.
I wouldn't have done better.
One of my
we're
favorite
screwed.
sequences
That's
is
right, it is.
so they're trying to get back to the mall from the ammo store and they're in the tunnels and this guy named Tucker is injured. So CJ has to pull Tucker from his shoulders while he's sitting and Tucker's just shooting like double fisted these guns while these zombies are coming after him. I was like, this is such a fun sequence. Like from just like being in the theater as a middle schooler watching this, I was like, this is so cool. It felt like a video game.
It did.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was cool. That was cool.
Cowboy style. Just kind
Yeah.
of bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. It's crazy.
He don't make it. though.
Your girl was gonna be Diane Lane was gonna play Anna.
Who
I know you
doesn't
like
like
Diane Lane.
Diane
Diane
Lane?
Lane
Diane Lane, huh?
from Secretariat. That played.
Yeah, we was.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we-
were gonna say we
every
got
time we've had a
Secretariat.
Diane
We saw her in
Lane,
another
it's
movie.
like,
Everyone
I-
likes
I-
Diane Lane.
Well, she was gonna be Anna in this. Yeah.
What you call it? She was in the baseball one, but she was real good looking. She was good looking anytime. But what's with G Baby? What's that movie?
Mm.
I'm drawing a blank. You know what I'm talking.
Oh,
When
the
you call me
replacements.
Big Papa.
Right,
What's that
no.
movie? No.
It's a baseball
Hardball.
movie?
That's it. Hardball.
Yes, Hardball.
Hardball. Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Right.
that was.
Hardball was like
Hardball.
2000, 2001.
You know?
Something like that, or 1998 or 2000, something like that. Yeah.
She was doing Hardball. Maybe she wasn't available.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is there anyone you would have casted, I guess, differently? I mean, because the cast is.
You know what?
well,
I think the fact that, like, I mean, other than Ving Rhames, the fact that I didn't really recognize any of these actors, I think helped me get more immersed in this world. I think there's something about, like, for like World War Z, for example, where you're like, oh, this is just Brad Pitt running from zombies. Like, there's nothing that you can show me that's going to make me think this isn't Brad Pitt running from
Yeah.
zombies. Whereas in this film, like, I don't really know that, like, the kid who plays Terry very well. Like, I don't recognize Michael from anything else. So it really helped me to just get lost in it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. Yeah, World War Z was good. I like that.
Yeah, no, World War Z. Yeah, I mean, I almost going to say, I don't think there's been a zombie movie I really didn't like.
Yeah. They're fast in that, real fast.
Have you seen
Oh, yeah,
Train to
it's on
Busan?
a whole different level.
It's a Korean zombie movie, and it's incredible. Like, these zombies move like ants. They like climb on top of each other. It's really well done.
Wow.
There was another foreign movie I watched. I forget what the hell it was called, and it was like a zombie. It was something different. It was placed there they're at like a school or something. I don't know if it was on Netflix. I have to look it up. That's beside the point. We're trying to think. One of the other notes I wrote down is Michael's, I guess, dark past. Did you catch that where he said?
Yeah, he's been, and he's also had a hard time finding work. Like, he just wasn't like the hero that we probably think of him as in this circumstance.
Yes. Yep. He was. He had like 100 different jobs.
Yeah, he said I had a pink slip from all three marriages. I'm like, oh, I mean, you got like divorced like 3 times. I'm like, that's pretty
Wait,
crazy.
did you see what his best job was?
Mm.
Being a dad. That's what he said.
So around this point, they're like they abandon the mall. The mall gets flooded with zombies through the tunnel system, and then they jump into the vans, like the
Right.
buses, which are again another very cool video game type of sequence. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a great South Park episode that actually parodies this, called Invasion of the Homeless People, where basically their town gets flooded with homeless people, so they have to construct these buses to get through the crowds of homeless.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this sequence is actually
that's
very
pretty
like
good.
famous for this bus ending.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
Which that was a propane tank. I want to know how they got that tank was pretty damn big. The big
Yeah.
they had the small little ones that they're throwing out, which
Which
again,
is cool, too.
which is very cool. But I don't know, like a little far fetched
Yeah.
how close they were to that explosion. That's besides the point.
That's a movie.
Um,
I know.
That big giant propane tank. I'm like, unless they got into a forklift and put that thing on. I don't know. One, I don't know how it would even fit there. Number one, and number two, I don't know.
I
how to
was
lift
really
it.
at one point they threw it and then the zombie picked it up and I was like, is this zombie gonna like volleyball it back to them? Like, why is he picking it up? Like, it didn't seem like the zombies were curious at all. It just seemed like they were hungry. So that was like the first time a zombie like picked it up and was like, I wonder what this does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
he shoots it and goodbye. That's a cool scene, though.
Yeah,
A lot of cool scenes.
Oh, very cool.
Also, keep in mind, like, their big plan is to get on a boat and go to an island at this point, which feels like there's so many variables to this plan that they're not thinking of that I don't know that I would have left the mall. I think, like you guys said, like, just secure it and bear it down because clearly, you know, as the events play out, it didn't really work out to their favor. So I think they could have probably thought through that a little bit more.
No. And now you have
They always say,
food.
yeah, no
food
food.
now.
I mean, you could easily, you know, the guys again. You assume
Sure.
you've got fishing nets in there. You could fish, but again, you gotta be lucky to catch some. Number one,
They only leave the mall
fish
with
is not
guns
easy
and
sport.
ammo. No one grabs water. No one like maybe that stuff is in the buses already, but they leave it all behind.
You would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, they didn't get any of that stuff.
No, you're right. They always say it's stay put. You know, until you absolutely need to.
Yeah,
there's no
definitely.
point. You could have lived another, I don't know,
Yeah.
a couple months there. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
And what do you call it?
CJ,
Saves
yeah,
the
he
day.
sacrifices himself.
CJ.
Yeah.
He does. Saves the day. Yeah, saves the day.
That's why my thing in the beginning is the MVP because
Yeah.
and you said his arc is he saves himself and blows it all up, which I guess is probably the best way to go rather than get bit.
I would have done the same thing.
And
I think that his arc, like this whole idea of like, I don't need anyone else, I can do, like, I'm the one in charge, him kind of being like kicked down a little bit, like, I don't know, it felt like they were trying to tell us through CJ that, like, if we work together, we can accomplish more than being an individual. Like, I felt like that was the theme of his character.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree with that. And again, you bad ending, not bad ending, but like with Michael, he's just standing there. He's like,
And Michael's the only one to say, hey, just so you know, I've been bit and I'm gonna separate myself from the group. Everyone else is like, what? I didn't get bit. I'm fine. Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
good directing,
I
though.
know.
That's good directing. That was very. You don't realize that was Zack Snyder's first.
Yes.
Did you know
So
that?
incredible.
First movie he's ever done. Yeah. Not bad for his first start.
I'd have to look the rest of his movies up, but
it's amazing.
I mean,
I think it's actually one of my
great
favorite
first
Zack
movie.
Snyder movies, if I'm being honest. Like, I think that he does so. He made such an exciting roller coaster ride of a movie. I mean, even once like they get to the boat, like it cuts to credits, but it's not even over. Like there's this little post-credit scene of them getting to the island, and the island is full with zombies. Like he just keeps giving you like more of a bang for your buck as the movie goes on. So
I agree with you. Yeah, you're right. That's true. true. Yeah.
It's definitely a weird ending. I'm not a honestly like I guess my opinion is I don't really like the video camera and the way it cuts and stuff. I don't know. It's for me. It's just
Like
I
how
wish they
it
showed
almost,
a little bit more.
yeah,
Or,
it almost switches to like a found
it
footage
cuts too
movie
much.
at the during the credits. Yeah,
Correct. Which I don't mind like
Sure.
the whole like because again, Paranormal Activity is one of my favorite movies. I don't mind that type of view, but it cuts too much and again I don't know. You got to realize too. I guess it's towards the end. He's just taking
Sure.
the camera out for whatever reason, the film and stuff. Um, but it's a different ending for sure, and that's the one thing zombie movies don't
yeah.
give us really.
Well, I mean, it's hard to. It's hard. How do you have a
Yeah,
zombie
that's
movie with a
true.
good ending?
I know. I know.
You,
That's true.
I guess you don't really see what's the word for it? You don't really see a resolution or like, hey, this is how civilization comes back.
And I think that's kind of the big question, not to keep bringing it back to Walking Dead, but that show goes on for so long that at a certain point you're like, okay, so what
Yeah.
are we staying alive for? Is it to rebuild? Is it to just like live the rest of our life out as a person as best possible? Like, what's the goal from this point out? Yeah.
What's the end goal? Uh-huh.
See, I thought Walking Dead would have ended with somebody
At this
finding the
point,
cure.
yeah.
That's what I always thought.
Yep.
That would have. Well, I know, but that should have been it. Where the cure, they could spray the zombies or whatever and kill them all. And that'd be it. And then they could take the shot, whatever, and everybody would live a normal life, and the zombies would all be
But
gone.
you don't-
Nobody would turn into a
but they
zombie
don't.
anymore. So.
You don't hear about it a cure.
No, I know that,
Right?
but I'm saying that's would have been a.
No,
good
you're right.
ending to
Absolutely.
Walking Dead. That's the way it should have ended. All that, like you said,
I
all that
love-
Just to
work
keep
they
dragging
did.
it out.
I know.
It's still not
you're
done.
right, yeah,
It's
it's
still
dragging
on in
it
like
out,
3
sure.
different shows right now.
It's still,
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
watch them all. Sorry. I'm watching Daryl Dixon right now, and yeah.
I watched the first episode of that,
Yeah.
and I liked it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I liked the Michonne and Rick one.
Yeah.
I thought that one was really good.
Yeah.
But like it's funny. I know we're getting close on time, but I'll try to be brief. The Walking Dead, the first episode, I hated it. We first had to rewatch
Yeah.
it because again, it starts out so slow, and it's like he's walking around aimlessly for half the episode, and like you don't know. So like we turned it off, and then eventually we got back into it, and I love the first season, especially when
Yeah.
you go to the CDC and
But like,
that whole
yes,
end
it
scene
starts
was awesome.
so slow, and it's almost like a slower version of 28 Days Later. If you've seen that
Correct.
movie of waking up in the hospital,
Yes, I have.
but I think
been
at least for the
yeah.
first few seasons of Walking Dead, it actually allows the story to like grow like steadily and like really get to like season 3 and season 5, where I feel like there's some really big peaks. But I think zombie stories are best in these hour and a half, or like these little movie portions. It's hard for it to keep going on and on.
Yeah, and in Beyond the Walking Dead, okay, they show,
Yeah.
'cause they never show it the whole time in any of them shows.
Mm.
They show where it begins, and it begins.
Wow.
in,
Really?
It begins in France. That's where it starts. The virus. So that's where it all starts. Yeah.
See, I didn't watch
Yeah,
it.
I know, but you
Beyond-
would never
Beyond
know
Walking
that.
Dead.
I don't
That's
know where it
interesting.
started.
Yo,
It started over there.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah. It was a virus.
You
it was
know,
a
one other thing I just want to say about Dawn of the Dead and Zack Snyder, like his first 3 movies were Dawn of the Dead, 300, and Watchmen. Just like out of the park, excellent like visual filmmaking. Like 300
Yeah.
alone, just like the visuals of that movie. Like he's such a visual director, and you could just see that in all of his projects.
Oh, he is. Yes, you're right. Yes, excellent.
No, I agree. Is there anything else? Is there anything you didn't like about this movie? Again, I think I said with the ending edit credits and stuff like that, it's not something I really like. Is there anything you really didn't like? Or
For me, I just think the middle of the movie kind of slows down a little bit, and maybe that's a budget thing. Maybe he's like, "Hey, I really want to save my budget for bigger sequences at the beginning and end." But yeah, like the middle of the movie, I think is just kind of it gets a little like, "Oh, let's just get to it, guys."
Yeah,
What about you, Frank?
No, I think you had to do that middle a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because they have to talk a little bit. You got to push some of the time. I think I know what you're saying though. I don't think you
Sure.
want to shoot them up, bang them up for an hour and 40 minutes. So you got to
Yeah.
like the baby being born, all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's about it. Except for that, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was well done.
I mean, an hour 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I said, this movie it flew by.
It
It
did.
was perfect time.
It did. It flew by. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Is there anything else you want to? Again, we can go on and on and on about the movie. Is there anything else you want to?
Well, you know what? Again, just like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. I always have. You know, there's this conversation that's going on online right now, which I think is interesting, which is like when politically things are more conservative, we get more vampire films, and vice versa. When things are more liberal, we get more zombie films. And I was just like, oh, that's so interesting. And there's a lot of theories as to why, but I just thought that was a cool thing that I came across as I was doing research for this.
That's cool. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Frank, anything or
No,
or
I'm
nothing?
good.
Anything
I
else?
loved it. It was good. It's like the second or third time I've seen it. Yeah, it was good.
We normally kind of give like a rating now. So we'll go off. IMDb gave it a 7.3. I'm sorry. And I think you kind of you Tony, you kind of started going with your rating.
You know what?
You wanna
I'm going to
like,
give
a
this
rating
movie
from
a solid
1 to 10?
8. It's not the best zombie movie I've ever seen, but it's definitely, I think, within the top 10, like top 5. It's a very, like you said, the pacing's great. It's a fun ride. I've also seen a lot of zombie movies that were kind of boring, that didn't move very fast, pacing wise, that weren't very exciting. And so I think that this movie, especially for this time period, is probably the most recognizable zombie movie of like a 20-year span for a while. So I just think it accomplishes its goals. Zack Snyder, again, great direction. I was scared of these zombies in ways that I hadn't been scared of zombies before. So for that alone, I give it my grade.
Go ahead, Frank. You want
I'm
to
gonna
go next?
exactly with him. I think it's a good 8, solid 8. Yes, I love the cast in it. When I first watched it, I knew Ving Rhames. The rest of the guys,
Yeah.
I really didn't know who they were. I do now. I know who they are now because but I didn't really know. I thought he did a nice job with the money they spent and what they made on the movie.
You're right.
I thought it was pretty cool. Something different. It was something different, kind of. And the fast
I'm,
zombies I hadn't seen before. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that too. I was thinking before this. 8 is perfect.
Yes, yes.
You said it right with the cast.
Mm.
Again, besides Ving Rhames, even this was early on in Ving
Yes, it
Rhames'
was.
career.
Yes, it was.
There's really nobody really in this. I'm trying to think of like a big actor,
No.
like a big popular actor in 2004 that would be in this. They're all nobodies, and they all kill it. I think the director
Yep.
and the writing, I think
Absolutely.
is there,
Yep.
you know.
Definitely.
I know we got to go. Is there we have an extra inning segment where we kind of give like, is there anything you want to like focus, something you've seen now that you want to shed light to, something really really good that you kind of like
Off the top of my head, well, you know what? Like I said, I really love the movie Train to Busan. It is a South Korean film, but it's a zombie movie. It's my favorite zombie movie. It's just about this guy and his daughter trying to ride a train out of the city during a zombie apocalypse. But the zombies, I think, are the most scary zombies I've ever seen. They, like I said, they move like worker ants. They're like climbing over each other into buildings and stuff. Like they're so strong and so fast. And the movie's also like deeply emotional. Like I was like at the end of the movie, I was getting really choked up. So it's able to work on like a lot of different levels. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it.
Gotcha.
I gotta try it. I gotta try that.
You got anything, Frankie, or no?
No, not right. Not right now. I'm watching so many of my regular shows right now. So.
So we watched yesterday. I don't know what station this was on because we have cable. We were watching. They had a whole lineup of Stephen King movies.
Right.
And I'm sure you've seen it, but
So great.
Misery, I think,
Oh, that's
is
excellent.
something
Yes.
The acting.
so good. Again, the writing is there, and even too. That's what I mean. Like when you think about it, there's only just the two of them that are in.
The whole movie could be a play.
I don't know, like,
Because
the
it's just
whole
the two of them in one
and they
set.
carry. It's
It could be.
you're right.
Very
You're
good.
right. It's
Very good. It could be a play. Yeah.
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Again, the writing. Stephen King is just a genius, and and even like I said, Kathy
Yeah.
Bates and James Caan. You know, they're unbelievable actors.
Yeah.
But that's all I really got.
Loved
for
coming
joining us.
back
This was quite
on.
a
Anytime
show.
in the future you guys want me, would love to circle back. You know, I'm a big film geek, whether it be these kind of movies or even sports movies or any others. You know, I love this stuff. So, and I had the best time.
It was,
Always a good time.
it was nice to see you again.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on again. And like I said, I told you guys whenever you guys want to let me know what you
Yeah.
guys are doing.
Hopefully
I'll
we'll have
turn you on
some
for
announcements coming up
for
soon.
Episodes of it.
Great. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Tom.
Appreciate it.
I'll be looking forward to it. Thank you.
Take care, Tom.
All right. Take care, everyone.